Kundalini is a form of yoga which induces the spiritual awakening. And the yoga that is the closest to Kundalini yoga, or which is pretty much synonymous with Kundalini yoga, is that of Hatha yoga. And again, this is a physical process. So this isn't you just sitting there hugging a tree and saying, I'm one with nature. No, this is a very rudimentary and intense and serious process. So Kundalini was explained by the ancient yogis and was written down by them, by the rishis, in the Upanishads. So the Upanishads are the pretty much the oldest text within the Vedantic culture or traditions having to do with Kundalini. But of course, Kundalini has been practiced by all sorts of cultures all around the world, probably since the beginning of our modern age. But they were initially written down and systematized by the rishis in the Upanishads. And so a lot of scholars over the decades and centuries have tried to decipher and decode what they were saying. And again, at first, the Westerners thought it was all just religious dogma, whatever. But later we've realized that no, what they were explaining to us in the Upanishads which was actually a rudimentary science of how to use yoga, which is basically a system of connecting the mind and body to induce a spiritual awakening, induce a Kundalini awakening. And so in the yogic tradition, Kundalini, which means coiled, is an energy force that sits at the base of the spine. And at the base of the spine, there's a center of nerves, a bunch of nerve endings or nerve hairs, which they call the sushumna. So again, at the end of the spine, there is a center of nerves, specifically nerve hairs, called the sushumna by the classical yogis. And that is where the Kundalini resides. And a lot of times Kundalini, also known as Kundalini Shakti, the coiled energy, the hidden or dormant energy, is symbolized by a snake, a coiled snake. And the awakened Kundalini is symbolized by an erect snake, a snake that has been extended and awoken. And so at the base of the spine and the central nervous system, the entire nervous system that runs up and down the spine to the brain as well, sits the Kundalini. And so what the yogis found was that practicing certain yogic postures and practicing certain meditation techniques and also certain breathing techniques, which we call breath work, you can basically fan the flames of those nervous fibers down there by the spine, wake them up or agitate them. You can agitate those nerves to such a point that they literally heat up and then activate a blast of energy, which again we call Kundalini Shakti, the vital energy life force. And not only does the nervous system activate with that intense energy, but it also helps that the process of going through that with the breathing and the meditating and the yogic posture also helps activate the CSF, the cerebral spinal fluid. And the cerebral spinal fluid is a canal that runs all the way up through the spinal cord, around the brain, hits the pineal gland, circulates, and goes all the way back down. So it circulates up and down. And so together you have the spinal cord, the CSF, and the nervous system acting together. And so when you activate all of that with the Kundalini yoga, what happens is your body goes through this intense process where it starts to activate a self-regulating and self-healing process. That blast of energy then goes through your body, and as it goes through your body with the CSF, it starts to hit all the different centers, the different chakras of your body. And as it hits those different centers, it basically analyzes the toxicity and then hits them and attempts to rewire them. And that's why when you go through Kundalini awakening or spiritual awakening, it can be painful and you can have convulsions and all these things because your body is literally having a surge of this intense nervous system energy and intense flow of CSF, cerebral spinal fluid. And as it moves through those centers, it's going to hit blockages, actual, literal, physical, and emotional blockages. And it's going to work at them until it can go through them. And that's why the Kundalini, that's why the classical yogis came up with the chakra system so that you can meditate on those centers as it moves through them, because it's not going to go directly to your brain right away. It's going to move through the different parts of the body until it has completely eradicated the toxicity within them, the physical and emotional toxicity. And so that is why people have these tumultuous journeys through a spiritual awakening, because they have awakened that Kundalini Shakti. They have awakened this pranic force, this energetic nervous system force that is now actively and forcefully moving itself through the body, and again, analyzing the different organ systems, the different centers of the body. And as it analyzes them, it also eradicates the toxicity and cleanses them and heals them. And that's why at the end of this process, you come out refreshed, rebirth, and everything is heightened because your entire body and beingness is now rebirth. Everything is literally rebirth. You have shed all the toxicity, and now everything is like it's brand new. And that's why people report seeing colors so bright and vivid like they've never seen them before, because everything gets reborn, everything gets cleansed. And so in short, that's what Kundalini Shakti is. And again, it's synonymous with the spiritual awakening.